Okay, so today we're going to tie a fly that I had come up with for trout, but it actually came from tying for my largemouth bass. It's tied with marabou in the brown olive color, and my bass just loved this color. And I was thinking maybe the trout might like it also, so I tied up some in a small size 12 and size 14. And what happened was I actually tied them up on a regular 300 dry fly hook, and the trout actually straightened the hooks out. So I bumped it down in size to a 1X long, 1X strong. And we have not had an issue with straightening the hooks out. Now, this hook actually has a pretty darn aggressive barb. So make sure that when you use this hook, you bend that barb down so that it's easier to get the fish off. So I'm going to put 8 wraps on this 1X long size 14 hook of 15 thousandths weighted wire, and I'm going to put 8 wraps up where I would put a thorax. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm going to go ahead and break it at 7 because my 8th wrap is going to come from the back side as I bring it around. And I'm just going to go ahead and scrunch it all together, and I'm going to leave it about an eye or so behind, if you can see where it's at, about an eye back. Now the thread that I'm using is 70 UTC brown olive. Great color. I love this thread. You can either wrap it around as a rope or you can lay it flat. So now I'm going to hold that tag end in my hand on my left side, and now I'm going to use it and tighten up right over that lead. And as you can see, I'm pulling that tag and pulling it in and wrapping right over the top of that lead again. And you can see that UTC thread flattening out right over the lead and binding it down to that hook shank. So I'm going to wrap back now, and I'm going to wrap right on top of that hook shank to where that barb would be. I don't want to wrap down around the bend. Now, I'm using small hot orange wire. This color is really somewhat of an attractor color, but when this body starts to fluctuate in the water, the fish can pick this ribbing up. So I'm tying it on the bottom of the hook shank, as you can see, and I'm going to come right around and hold it on the bottom and pull it to where the end of that tag of wire comes right up underneath where the lead is at, right there. So it's got a nice smooth body. And so now my wire is on the back side of the hook shank coming off the bottom, and I'm just going to go ahead and lash that down. So the trick to building this fly, and this is a very simple but such an effective fly, that on this marabou, I'm going to go ahead and peel off right here in the center about 4 to 5 strands of it. Not a lot, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is I'm looking not so much from here out, but I want my tail to have some body. So I'm looking at the fluff inside this marabou from here down. And so my tail I'm actually looking at is the fluff right here. So I want my tails to be the length of the body. So I'm going to kind of hold it and say, okay, there's a decent amount of tail. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it somewhere right in there. And with my thread hanging at the hook barb, I'm going to go ahead and gently wrap right over the top and give it 1 to 2 wraps. And you can see how the fluff is right here at the edge of my tails. Pull back, wrap forward right over the lead all the way up to in front of the lead. So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to twist this into a rope. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of hold this flat, and I'm going to pick up on the thread with my finger, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap. But I want my marabou to wrap flat on this body. And it's just going to keep on wrapping forward, and you can see the angle that I'm wrapping at, and I don't want to crowd that eye. So you can see I'm holding the butts of that marabou with my thumb. And now as I get up to the eye, I'll go ahead and wrap right around it once, twice. Now don't worry too much about how that marabou is sitting on this hook shank, the way it's splaying out from the hook shank. It doesn't seem to matter. Now the next thing I want to talk about is marabou's kind of slippery, so you want to pull your tag ends, your butt sections back, wrap in front of them, and then wrap right over the top. And notice how I'm starting to create a little bit of a head right here. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up my butts, come right in here, and snip them off. And that's really a nice way of doing it. And I secure those in, so now I know they won't unwind. So before I do my wire ribbing, I'm going to come forward now with the tail, and I'm just going to kind of pinch it just in front of the eye. And I'm not going to cut this. I'm going to reach in and grab just one or two at a time and break them. And now I've created a nice tail about the length of the body, just like that. And the reason I'm breaking them off now is because they're so long and they'll get in the way when I counter wrap my wire, my ribbing. So for accident purposes, I'm going to go ahead and put one whip finish right there where that head is at. And now I can go ahead and just counter wrap my wire. But I want to heat it up just a little. So I'm going to kind of straighten the molecules out on this wire. I'm not pulling it. I'm just warming it up in friction. It's just a habit I have. Now I'm going to counter wrap it. And again, I am not concerned with the way the marabou is being trapped under this wire. But if you notice how the ribbing come off the bottom, and I'm creating a nice even segment all the way up to that head. And now we have it, and I'll go ahead and wrap in. Just like that. I'm going to come right in front of that wire a few turns. And back again. I don't trust wire like that marabou. You want to make sure you get this wire tied in nice and tight, and then you want to grab it here at the bottom. And what I'm doing is I'm grabbing this top wrap with my thumbnail, because when I pull in helicopter, I want to make sure that when I do this, it doesn't pull my segmentation under my thread wraps and push them all and pull them all together by shortening them up. Now that that's completed, I'm going to go ahead and whip finish off. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And come right up here on top, cut. Clean that little bit of marabou up there. And usually if you get your marabou back far enough, you can, I'm just kind of running my fingers over it, and it just kind of brings that marabou out. And there you have it. This is a fly that's just, yeah, it's kind of ugly looking, but man, I'll tell you what, you fish it like a crackleback. You strip it, and you just kind of drop it right in there. I don't fish it under any kind of an indicator, which you can, and I've heard guys that are doing it like that. But me personally, and Terry Hildebrand, the guy that I gave a bunch to test them out at Bennett, he fishes them like a crackleback up and across the stream, and slowly trims them back, strips it back. With a little bit of weight that's in it, it doesn't sink fast, and you get a lot of pulsation, and they seem to really like this color. So there you have it. It's a very simple fly. Don't ask me what it really is imitating. It's the action of the fly. It's the way you fish it, and it just seems to light them up. Just, they eat it up so well. So again, I don't really have a name for it. Bennett Springs Killer, whatever you want to call it, but there it is. It's a marabou color is kind of the key. Olive brown. It's olive brown thread, UTC thread. Find the marabou to match the color of your thread, and go to it. Let me know how well it works. Email me, at the Fly Tires of the Long Table, and give us a report back. You may want to tie them in a little bit larger size too, but right now size 14 seems to be the hot size. Good luck.